Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back to come cook with me. On today's episode, we're actually going to be making bread pudding with a creme glaze sauce, which is just a fancy, creamy, eggy, sweet sauce to go over the bread pudding. But before I show you how to do that, make sure you like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you can come cook with me again for future episodes. Let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is you want to just grab a loaf of bread. This can be brioche bread, this could be white bread, really any bread that you have available works. We're going to just cut it up and bake in the oven, so whatever bread you have on hand, that's what you use. So, serrated knife, and I'm going to slice the middle. And this is actually a few days old, and that's what you kind of want. You want it a few days old to kind of get a little crusty. I think that's an official everyday cook term, crusty. Because then it's going to really soak up the custard that we're going to make. So you can tear this, you can cut this however you want it. I'm just cutting this up into little cubes. Our mascot Maggie here's the bread, so I'm going to give her a little piece. Come on, Mags. Come on, here you go. Just take it. There you go. That's all you get today. All right, so continue to cube these up. And the serrated knife really helps because it's not squishing the bread like a regular knife would. So you kind of keep the bread nice and light, fluffy. And while I'm slicing up the bread, we'll go ahead and talk about the ingredients that you'll need for this recipe. So you'll need bread, obviously, bread pudding. We have eggs. We have raisins. I'm choosing golden raisins today. Milk, sugar, and some vanilla extract. And it's as easy as that. And one of the reasons that I'm making this recipe this morning, have a couple other things to make today, are my best friends are coming into town, and this is one of their favorite desserts that I make for them. I learned how to make this when I was working at a country club back in the old city I used to live in. And we used to make trays and trays and trays of this. So this is one of those recipes down my culinary journey. Again, remember the techniques I taught you when we were chopping ingredients in other episodes? Continue to make sure that your fingers are kind of tucked back so you don't get them with the knife. All right, so my board's kind of full, but we'll try and not make such a big mess. Okay. So before we make our custard, I have a... I don't even know what size this is. I bought it and I was like, ooh, I like it. But just a big casserole dish, oven safe dish, clear dish. It could be square dish, whatever dish you have. So what I'm going to do is create a first layer of bread, about half my bread. And then to kind of get those golden raisins that are just on the top, I'm going to do a little layer of golden raisins first. You looking for crumbs? All right, and then put this second layer on top. I know this seems like a lot of bread pudding for three people, but believe you me, it will get eaten for sure. And this is actually a really good recipe if you have like a company coming over for dinner. As you can see, you can make it as big or small as you want. So it's kind of a crowd favorite, especially with the creme glaze sauce. All right, I like a lot of raisins. You can add less. You don't even have to use raisins. You can use dried cranberries, dried cherries, dried apricots, whatever dried fruit you have. And the reason for the dried fruit is because if you use fresh fruit, it's going to release a lot of moisture that's naturally in fruit and kind of make it too wet. All right, so we'll set that aside and we'll make our cream sauce. Let's get our measuring bowl. So depending on how much bread pudding you actually make, that determines how much, obviously, cream sauce you're going to make. So I'm going to use 3 cups of milk and then some sugar. Okay, story time. I'll make it really quick. So I made this for my best friend's birthday. One of my best friends, both of them are coming down. And I was so excited. We had all the food together. And we went to serve the bread pudding and I forgot the sugar. in not only the creme glaze, the sauce, but then also in the custard itself for the bread pudding. So basically it was like baked bread eggs, and I tried to like gussy it up and like make another sauce, and it was horrible. So remember the sugar. That's why we mise en place and get everything in its place. Don't forget the sugar. That was a horrible, horrible, horrible mistake. Okay. So in a bowl, I'm going to do 2 cups of sugar. To the side. Oh, cinnamon. I forgot cinnamon. See? It happens. Okay. Cinnamon or vanilla extract. And you know I love vanilla. So I'm actually going to do 2 tablespoons of vanilla to this. And the only reason I'm stirring up this vanilla is I actually make this vanilla extract from scratch. And when you scrape the vanilla beans, you know, the black little flakes that you get from real vanilla, they always go to the bottom. So I like to stir this up a little bit. Vanilla beans are getting caught. All right, so 1, 2. Actually, let's make it extra vanilla. Make 3 tablespoons. I'm going to leave this spoon in here because we're going to make the same kind of steps for the sauce. Okay, and to make this luscious, luscious, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 whole eggs. And yes, that was a chefy little one-handed crack. And then we'll kind of put that to the side, put our milk to the side, and we're going to get some egg yolks. And one of the easiest tips that I found into separating the egg yolks and the egg whites are your fingers. A lot of people use the shell and kind of go back and forth. Your fingers are there's no sharp edges to your fingers. So it's kind of lets the egg separate easily. So see how it just separates just like that? Perfect. And I'm going to keep these egg whites. I'm going to make some buttercream later, so I'll keep those. See? Simple, simple. So pretty. Okay, so 4 egg yolks. Rinse off my hands. Okay. So add those in. We're going to use these same bowls because we're going to separate some more eggs. So I'm going to whisk this up just a little bit. And normally I only do about 1.5 cups of sugar, but my friend loves sweets and he likes things a little bit sweeter. So you can add less sugar if you want, because that sauce, remember, is going to add some sweetness as well. I hate when you have desserts when it's like sugar overload, you know? Okay, so I'm going to add our milk. All right, and a little bit of cinnamon. Just kind of warm it up just a tad. I'd say about 1/2 teaspoon. All right. And you don't have to add the cinnamon. You can add other spices if you want. If you're making this in the fall, add like some pumpkin pie spice. You could even make pumpkin bread pudding by adding just a little bit of pureed pumpkin. You can do a lot with this recipe. It's really versatile. Okay, so there's our custard. So we'll bring back our luxurious bread. And even as this sits out while you're making the custard, if you're doing other things, this bread continues to kind of dry out a little bit. And it's going to help soak up some more of that. Okay. So we're just going to pour this over. I guess it would help if you could see what I'm doing. And this may look really, really wet at first, but as the bread continues to soak up all that lovely custard, it's going to be nice. All right, so then I kind of Press it down just a tad, just to kind of get all those bread pieces exposed to that custard. Get in there. Kind of help the raisins stay at the top. Okay, so since that's done, we're going to actually let this sit for 30 minutes on the counter. Perfect, because we're going to make our sauce. And then this will actually go into a 350-degree oven covered for about 20-25 minutes, and then uncovered just to kind of get everything golden brown. So we'll set this to the side and make our sauce. Okay, so our bread pudding has been resting for about 25 to 30 minutes. I've covered it with aluminum foil. And then while that's been resting, I've been making our creme and glaze sauce. And like you'll see in this video here, I've basically been moving my spatula back and forth for 20 minutes, making this lovely, delicious sauce. So I will add about a tablespoon of butter to the sauce. That heat's going to melt that butter pretty quickly. And then we're actually going to set this to the side to cool completely. It will actually thicken up just a tad bit more once it cools, but that's some really good sauce to go over our bread pudding. So I'm going to get this in the oven, and then once it's done, we will taste test this lovely bread pudding. Okay, so our bread pudding has been out of the oven for about 20 minutes, just to kind of cool it off a little bit so it's not too hot when we try and serve it. But look how gorgeous this looks. Again, this is a classic recipe that I've been making for years, and I can't wait to try it. I don't like things super sweet, so this is kind of like a nice compromise. Get a little spatula. I know my best friends are going to enjoy this. I mean, they did request it, so if they don't... Oh, how good that is. Look how good. And then the creme glaze, it did cool down in the fridge the whole time after we made it while we waited for the bread pudding to cool down. So let's pour a little bit over. Yum, yum, yum. So good. And then what I realized, which has been a joke with me and my friends, is I've noticed I don't taste anything in the video. So I will promise to start tasting these items, but the way this looks, I have no problem with that. Get a raisin. Mmm.